Hey guys, Jason Schnitzer here. Thanks for tuning in today for this episode of the Self-Control Show. Full disclosure, I'm not sure that I'm completely sold on the name of my podcast, so could change over the weeks, months, and years, but yeah, we'll go with Self-Control Show for now. Like I said, I'm Jason Schnitzer, your host for today, and what I'm talking about is how to improve your intimate relationships or your marriage with self-control, and maybe give you some real world, real life, actionable things that you can do. What and how does self-control help in a relationship, or at least my opinion on that? Full disclosure, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not counselor, marriage counselor, couples counseling. I'm a coach. I'm trained as a coach, and really this is what I've found in my experiences and the experience of the people that I've helped around me improve their lives, improved their relationship. So yeah, I hope that you guys find it helpful too. First off, let's just start out by kind of like talking big picture of, what does the feminine truly desire from the masculine? And in my opinion, that is their presence, whether that be quality time, whether that be their ability to sit and listen to them and actually drop into their world. Presence is key, in my opinion, with regards to that, growth of that intimacy. And in order to be present, there's a degree of self-control that you have to not be thinking about other things to be able to hold space for the person that's, usually sitting right in front of you. And to take it a step further, it's like typically where men struggle most with this, myself included, is when, my wife, let's just say for me, for example, would bring me something that was difficult for her, or she had a problem with, or that made her upset or angry or sad. It was always in those times that I caught myself just thinking about, instead of being there and being present and just listening to her, practicing active listening, I would already be thinking of ways to fix the situation in my mind. And, based on my experience, there's a lot of other men that also have this same thing. I know I see tons of memes on the internet. It's like, hey, if my wife would just, do A, B, and C, it's like the problem would be solved and we wouldn't even need to spend the 30 minutes talking about this situation for whatever happened. So, as I have gone on this journey, as I previously stated, of facing my storm and figuring out why I am the way I am and why I do the things that I do, I had noticed a common theme with other men. Most men are fixers. At least that's what I've come to see from my personal experience. And I wondered why that was the case. And it wasn't until I started being able to build my own capacity to be able to actually just sit there and be present with my wife without feeling the need to fix that it started to marinate on me. Is that whenever something was brought to me that was uncomfortable, I started feeling uncomfortable in my own body. So in other words, her experience, I felt like I was experiencing that same thing as she was talking to me. So that naturally made me experience discomfort. And I realized that the better I got with just being able to sit with my own uncomfortable feelings, when somebody would bring me something that was uncomfortable for them, in this specific instance, it's my wife, it would be easier for me to just sit there and allow those feelings to just hang in that tension. So as I was growing the capacity to do this, I would start noticing more and more, like I would just catch myself. I challenge myself to see how long I could go without having a thought of, oh yeah, I could fix this. And it was like, at first, that was the real struggle, was challenging myself to not fix it. And again, the better I got with sitting with uncomfortable feelings on my own, the more capacity I was able to grow space to be able to hold other people's feelings and not feel like it was my job to fix. Because ultimately, what I think when men try to fix, is we're uncomfortable with those discomforting feelings. And when we can fix it in the person that's bringing us the issue, it then fixes it for us too. And, it's a common thing, especially in our culture, United States culture, just like masculine in general. It's more or less frowned upon to feel your feelings as a man. You're taught to suck it up, taught to not be a little bee. You're taught to not be emotional. You're taught to hide your feelings. Like, real strength is not showing feelings, and showing feelings is weakness. So we learn from a young age that feelings are not safe to a degree. And so that doesn't just go away for us. And being as though we're all human beings, we all have nervous systems, we all experience emotions, no matter how shut off we might be from them, they still come up for us whether we like it or not. And it's funny, usually the more you try to push things down, the more they get bottled up, the more they come out in ways that maybe we, aren't particularly proud of. So this would really make sense for me in that, why are most men fixers? Well, most men aren't comfortable sitting with their own emotions. So how can they be expected to sit with somebody else's emotions when they're brought to them? Okay? So let's think about that for a second. So, your wife or your girlfriend brings you a difficult emotion. What is and this is just a question for you, the listener. It's what is your initial reaction? Just be honest with yourself. Is your initial reaction to fix that problem, to make it go away? And if it is, it's why do you think that is? Or have you maybe even ever questioned why you think that is? And if you could be honest with yourself, and if you've never asked that question to yourself, maybe the next time somebody brings you a problem, whether that's your girlfriend, wife, spouse, mom, work friend, whoever, start noticing what happens, what feelings go on in your body. When somebody brings you something that's uncomfortable, does your chest tighten up? Does your stomach go in knots? Do you start getting some tightness in your shoulders and your traps and your neck? What is that? Start paying attention to that. And then next, start tuning into when they bring up a discomforting feeling, do you get that same transference? In other words, does that feeling also embody itself in you? And is that maybe the root of why you are trying to fix that thing? And if so, I would challenge you to start looking at what it is that is stressful or bothersome in your own life that maybe you're avoiding, and start being able to start sitting with those feelings for yourself and noticing feelings aren't scary, right? Nobody's died from feeling a feeling. But I can tell you there are people out there that are slowly dying by repressing feelings and not feeling feelings. So, how you can approach this moving forward, if I were to give you some just advice, the next time somebody brings you something difficult, let's say, hey, can I talk to you about this? You can ask them up front, okay, yeah, sure, I'm happy to be here and listen. Let me ask you, is this something that you want advice about, or is this just something that you need space to, vent about, or do you just want me to listen to you? And you can do this either preemptively beforehand or after they're done talking. You can say, hey, is this something that you want advice about? Can I give them my input? Or is this just something that you need somebody to hear? And if they say, hey, I'm just trying to vent, or I'm just need somebody to talk to, a good thing to do would be active listen, which is more or less just take note of everything that they said. And if it's a long statement or feelings, just take the bullet points of the highlights, the most important things. And afterwards, once they're done, you can repeat back what they said or repeat back the highlights. Again, it's just called active listening. Hey, so what I'm hearing you say is you had this problem with this person, and then that made you feel this way, and that caused you to do these things. It's did I hear that right? Did I miss anything? They say, yes, that's great. A lot of times that's all people actually need. That's all your wife or your significant other actually needs from you. Then after they feel heard and validated, right? That's what essentially what active listening does. Then you can potentially ask, hey, do you want me to help you problem solve? You can ask that person more or less with, and you know, whether that be your partner or a friend or whoever, you know, what you want to try to avoid or take note of is like, how much unsolicited advice do you give? Okay? Because I don't know about you, I hate getting unsolicited advice. I hate sharing something and having somebody be like, oh yeah, well, if you just do this, or oh, like, you know, I have it worse, or oh, you know, well, you really shouldn't be complaining about that because there's starving kids in Africa, or insert whatever. It's like, or at least this, like somebody's already found the silver lining for the story that you shared. It's really not that helpful. And the more you kind of dive into this stuff, the more, in my opinion, it kind of like irritates me. And I just start like taking note of like, okay, I'm just not going to share specifically with this person anymore. Or depending on that relationship, I'll take it a step further and be like, hey, you know, what's really important to me, like when I share something is, you know, if you ask if like I want your advice or your solicited advice, if you will. Otherwise, you know, I just like how it feels best for me is if you just active listen and just let me know like, hey, what did I say? Just like more or less repeat what I said, the bullet points, because then I know that you understood what I'm saying. It's like that person dropping into your world. So not only can you do this for other people, but you can coach other people on how that feels good for you. And I'll tell you what, once you learn this skill, you will watch your relationships improve drastically, number one. Number two, it takes all of the stress off of the need for you to be able to make things right. Because at the end of the day, people are responsible for their own feelings. You're responsible for your feelings. Your wife's responsible, or your girlfriend's responsible for her feelings, okay? If she brings something to you, all she's asking you to do for most of the time is hold space for her. And again, what that looks like is active listening, being present, you know, put your phone down, stop what you're doing, turn towards her, look her in the eye, and just be in that moment. And if you're able to repeat back what she says in a manner that makes sense to her, 90% of the time, that's all she needs. And again, if you're looking to improve long-term relationships, grow intimacy, all of that good stuff, this is a key component. And in order to do this, you have to have self-control. You have to realize what's going on inside of you and stop that, right? Or grow awareness to it. And eventually, what's really helpful is obviously work on why that is difficult for you. And you can do that with a coach. You can do that with a therapist. You can do that with a friend. But if you can grow your capacity to be able to hold space for other people's uncomfortable emotions by growing capacity to be able to sit with your own uncomfortable emotions, well, now all of a sudden, you're a safe place for the feminine to go to and bring things to. And there's nothing more attractive to the feminine than to have a rock solid, safe container for them to just let out everything that they're feeling and know that you are not going to be reactive to what she says, because you know that that is not yours to take on. And you have the capacity to just be there, allow the discomfort, hang in the tension, knowing that it's not your job to fix. And you can basically more or less metabolize all of that discomfort by just being present and being able to just sit in that uncomfortable space that most men are not able to hang in. And I guarantee you, if you start learning this skill and this level of self-control, all of a sudden you're going to be that man that, you know, your wife or your girlfriend is going to talk to her girlfriends about, and just like, wow, you know, Jason, just like, I can just bring up anything to him, and it's like, I don't need to worry about there being a reaction. It's like, I can just like be myself. And that allows for the softening and the relaxation that it takes to like really drop into that feminine energy, if you will. So hope you guys enjoyed this little mini series, let's call it. My plan is to basically take all of the situations in, relationships, ways that self-control helps in relationships, ways that it helps with wealth, ways that it helps with, building your own physical body, maybe even getting into parenthood a little bit here now that I've got a 7-month-old. And give you actionable things that you can take with every day, little tidbits to help improve your life, things that have certainly improved mine, and I'd love to pass on that knowledge to you guys. If you didn't know, I'm a self-control coach. You can check me out on my social media, Jason Schnitzer Coaching, or jasonschnitzercoaching.com. I do coach men one-on-one. I've got a great 12-week program called Reclaim Control, and I also have an option for an intensive, which is just a 1-month program where we do a quick deep dive on what you got going on and get you kind of to the root issues of why it is that maybe you don't feel like you have self-control or you're feeling stuck. So check that out, and thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time, guys.